Isra Ahmad, our regional chairman, and Mr. Raghunathan, today's key speaker, and chartered accountant, Mr. Ravish Kamath, and other managing committee members of FIEO and other senior members of FIEO. Welcome to all this session to discuss about the new proposed scheme of RoDTEP. Government announced earlier that the MEIS scheme will continue till 31st December 2020 or till RoDTEP rates for the products notified. All of you are aware that there is some temporary issues related to MEIS scripts, and we are getting a lot of phone calls. So I thought of first inform all of you that are under our regional chairman, Mr. Isra Ahmad, FIEO president, and our DG is in touch with all the decision makers, including PM's office, and we have been got assurance that it will continue until RoDTEP will be announced, rates will be announced. That's what just want to tell you, because we don't want to discuss on that in this forum. We can avoid that questions. And RoDTEP, all of you are aware that it's a new scheme proposed to replace the existing MEIS scheme, which aims to reimburse taxes and duties incurred by exporters such as local taxes, coal cess, mandi tax, electricity duties, fuel used for transportation, etc., which are not getting reimbursed or refunded for any of this present existing scheme. It has been informed that the refund will be can be claimed on percentage of FOB value of export. Presently, MEIS is provided in the form of transferable scripts, but the new scheme is aimed at creating electronic credit ledger in the customs system, which enable digital refund to the exporters. And you are aware that a committee has been formed under the chairmanship for Mr. G.K. Pillai and other committee members from the CBEC, and they are inviting details on the product calculations of the duties which is being not reimbursed to you. For this purpose, it is much important that the trade and industry should provide proper inputs on duties suffered without missing anything initially. Initially, we got some inputs from some of our members, and by seeing this, our regional chairman, Mr. Ahmad, also felt that it is necessary that FIEO should take lead to provide proper support, because we have seen that most of the inputs, even big corporates or smaller companies which they're providing, is not complete in all respects. So if you provide this kind of duty structure, the rates which you expected to get from the government also will be less. So that's the reason our regional chairman wanted to have this kind of session to give you some inputs on how to prepare yourself for that. We have with us today Mr. Raghunathan, who is having more than 30 years of experience across audit, taxation, consulting, etc. He is FCA and holds certification in international taxation and valuation from ICAI. Apart from working with the leather industry extensively, especially for fixation of, starting from fixation of drawback rates and various schemes, Mr. Raghunathan also has excellent experience in agro industries, spices, aerospace, textiles, and across the sectors he's worked, and he handled several projects of international and international reputations. So Mr. Raghunathan also conducts sessions on GST and handles direct and indirect taxation. With this brief introduction, I now invite our regional chairman, Mr. Isra Ahmad, who is instrumental in organizing these sessions, to deliver his keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Unnikrishnan, and good afternoon to everybody. From the numbers itself, we can see how important this subject is in RoDTEP. This is even more important today, I feel, with all the problems that we do have and the competitiveness that we have to have, and our expenses all have gone up because of COVID issues. All these, the remission of duties and everything are extremely key. As Mr. Unni had earlier said about the MEIS, MEIS has a very short lifespan. I think it has already been extended thanks to all the lobbying that has gone through the councils and through FIEO and through all the associations. It has been extended. It wasn't supposed to be, but then again, they have given a date of December 2020. And all of these MEIS needs to transition into RoDTEP. That was the idea behind the date as well. I think the apparel people have already moved, so they are not on the MEIS right now. So they have already moved to RoDTEP. But this is the key will be on the data that is submitted. I think there have been changes now that the committee has also been formed under Mr. Pillai, who is, if you would know, has been heading the drawback committee as well. Very experienced, very good person. But at the same time, what is very, very important here is to give the details to your councils or to your boards who will be taking this up with the committee as well. What we've seen mostly is that datas and details are not given properly, and then that leads to lower rates. Also, what was our understanding of what details to give before this committee and the last notifications that have come, or the details that have come, was different. We were under the impression that a lot of other things could be added and we could get a higher percentage. But now I think Mr. Raghunathan can explain to you what has changed and what will be calculated for the RoDTEP itself. But again, the way we look at this is the more we understand, including me, I'm here because I would also like to know more from Mr. Raghunathan exactly what are all going in. And then the council chairman is also here for Plastics Council, Mr. Ravish Kamath is here and other people are here. And we can all take this up to the government and try and see how best we can add other things if they are not being included here. So I would request for a good participation from everyone. Please ask your questions. It's extremely important that you clear up your doubts about how to fill up the data and what to give as well. So we are really hopeful that this will be very helpful to all of you. And so we look forward to having a great session. Before we move on to Mr. Raghunathan, Raghunathan has been known to us for a very long time. As Mr. Unni said, he has been working with us in the Council of Leather Exports. I happen to also be the regional chairman there. So we have had a lot of good experience working with Mr. Raghunathan. He's very thorough, very knowledgeable about this and also about drawback. So that's why we thought we could take this opportunity to bring him to FIEO and then have all the other members benefit from it as well. But I would like Mr. Ravish Kamath to also speak a few words about this. So I'll pass it on back to Mr. Unni and then you can ask Mr. Ravish also to speak, please. Thank you so much.
Sir, please unmute yourself. Mr. Ravish Kamath is All India Chairman for Plastic Export Promotion Council. He is from Bangalore. Sir, you have to unmute, sir.
Yeah, I have done it. Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Unnikrishnan. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Israr. Thanks for the invite and welcome, Mr. Raghunathan, because we do expect to get a lot of information from you on this new scheme. As we are all aware, in the past, we have been informed that the MEIS would go and RoDTEP would come in. And we from the Plex Council did an exercise of working on the data as per the details given by the government. And for almost about 30 or 40 products with different HSN code numbers, the data was submitted well in time as per the requirement. So now we are a little surprised, we are a little taken aback with getting the new formats. Frankly speaking, we are still unable to understand what exactly is it and what we need to do now. So internally, we are having discussions with the stakeholders from the various industry, but I would definitely look forward to have the views from Mr. Raghunathan and then take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kamath. Now I invite our key speaker, Mr. Raghunathan, to begin his presentation. He will make a brief presentation, then he will demonstrate the various calculations also. Over to you, sir.
Mr. Israr, am I audible?
You are, sir. You are, sir.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Israr Ahmed, Southern Region Chairman of FIEO, Mr. Ravish Kamath and Mr. Unnikrishnan, and all the other members of FIEO. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on this RoDTEP, which is the new concept which is there. In my presentation, I will be dividing it into 3 parts. One quick part on the background. The other one is why this RoDTEP came into being. We should understand the background of that. And the last one, I'll be dealing with the format itself. We'll be going line by line, which will take much more time. The first part, maybe I'll quickly go through it so that we spend more time on the formats and the other questions which may come across. You are able to see my presentation, sir?
Yes, sir. We can see it.
Okay. So remission of duties and taxes on export products. This is the RoDTEP which we are talking about now of late. In fact, last 1 year or so it has been there. Prior to that, it was we were talking about ROSL, which the textile industry could get, but other industries couldn't get that basically. And ROSL continued post GST also, and then RoDTEP took over from the ROSL. Now, a quick background on the foreign trade. Foreign trade is a vital sector of our country's economy and contributes substantially to the economic welfare of the people and the development of resources. So this is the importance of the foreign trade in the economy. It is required. So economies of scale, international specialization, and the fruits of scientific and technological process from across the world become more easily accessible through foreign trade. It could be a two-way also. Not only we supply goods, but in turn, we use all the international expertise which are being developed and bring it into country, which is nothing but what I'm trying to say is the Make in India concept announced by a Prime Minister a couple of years ago. That is what it is about. In the context of planned economic development of developing nations, an appropriate trade policy has become very necessary. And India, I think from the middle 90s itself, once the globalization and the economic activities were open up across the world for Indian, for investments in India, the foreign trade policy, it was called EXIM policy then, it was put in place. Today, no country in the world is self-sufficient. That is, no country possesses the facilities for economical production of all goods and services that are consumed by its people. So we need cross-border or two-way trade in the international market. Developing country like India needs more goods to feed a rapidly growing population. So we are 1.4 billion, close to that, and we need to provide employment and other resources to this population, for which we need investments from across the countries. And this export trade also is vital because especially in leather, textiles and all, you have a lot of employment opportunities which are available. Then exports can be a leading sector in growth. This means the higher earnings from higher marketability of a country's commodities in the international market would simulate the indigenous industrial activity. This in turn brings more distinct benefits like greater utilization of resources, larger employment opportunities, and more foreign exchange, etc. These are the direct benefits arising out of the export sector growth. Foreign trade also facilitates the dissemination of technical knowledge, transmission of idea, import of know-how, managerial talents, and entrepreneurship. In addition, foreign trade encourages movement of foreign capital. So, in fact, we have also come across those instances where Indian companies have also invested in abroad, many of them successfully, both in the product sector as well as in the as well as in the services sector. Then in totality, foreign trade can have a profound impact on the growth of an economy in terms of production, employment, technology, resources utilization, and so on. So this is what makes governments, especially our government, to look at the export trade as such, export sector, export industry as such, very favorably in its eyes, because it provides, employment, technology, resources, utilization, and so on. That is why we keep seeing many schemes which are coming up to facilitate, exports and proper realization and competition in the international market. So we have time-tested XIM licenses which are not going to be touched as of now. That is what I learned. Advanced license or advanced authorization based on notified CON or ad hoc input-output norms. This may be continued in the new policy also. Then EPCG also, and you have EOU scheme and SEZ scheme. Though there were issues raised by the US on these issues, but I think these will remain as such because there is a correlation between the imports and the exports. That could be one reason. Then we had the XIM script starting with DPP in 1997 based on a deemed import content. So this was there till 2002, 2003 or so. It was phased out overall. Then a target plus scheme was in place. Then focus product, which succeeded by MEIS. Focus product was merged with MEIS, and 2015-20 policy MEIS is there. And of course, this has been extended because policy itself has been extended up to 31st March 21. So the MEIS is extended up to 31/12/20. But still, I feel depending on this pandemic, my personal opinion is, and the other reasons overall, the government can extend this scheme and make it co-terminus with the policy as of 31/3/21. But still, we have to wait and see the initiatives taken by the government. Then the new one, which is going to replace MEIS and much talked about, is remission of duties and taxes on export product. Now, why did this RoDTEP came into being? So we have to look back from 2018 when USA challenged many of these schemes like EOU, Electronic Hardware Park, Biotechnology Parks, then the MEIS schemes, then EPCG, Special Economic Zone schemes, and duty-free imports for exporters scheme. This is applicable for leather and textile, where you can import duty-free based on your previous year performance, certain items. Then the dispute resolution process has gone through like this, starting March, April 18. First, the parties, as per the WTO requirement, were consultation between the parties, US and India happened, and nothing came out of it. So May to July, a panel was established on request of complainant, and the panel's report was submitted to these parties on October 19, holding that many of the items which we saw in the earlier screen are subsidies, and so it is not in tune with the WTO. So November 19, the appeal to appellate body has been made. But what I hear, even reading from papers or otherwise, is that this appellate body is to be constituted now. And this gives some breathing space as such for us to rework on all our schemes. And that is exactly what the government is doing now. Now let us look at why the objections were there by US. So the WTO agreement was entered to put into support to exporters from the government in form of subsidies, but also provided for special and differential treatment of developing countries like India. So it stipulates, number one, there is a financial contribution by a government or public body within the territory of member. One of the four methods of financial contribution is government revenue that is otherwise due is foregone or not collected. Fiscal incentives such as tax credits, like you had the DEPB sort of thing, where it was a fiscal incentive purely. And similarly, MEIS also is being held, because one thing, MEIS, to my best of my knowledge, this kind of a wide exercise was not carried out, and the government worked out the MEIS rates and announced. Maybe that could be one reason where the industry data was absent to substantiate it possibly. Then the other one is a benefit is conferred and subsidy is specific Access to subsidy is limited to certain enterprises located within their designated geographical areas. This is area-based exemptions and other things which are given, especially for exports. If it is a common one available across the board for domestic and other industries, there is no problem. But if it is for exports especially, then there is a question mark there. There is a point for to be raised. It also says shall be within the meaning. There are prohibited, there are different kind of prohibitions there. I'm only sticking to this particular 3 points, couple of points. Subsidies contingent upon export performance, including those illustrated. See, what happens is there cannot be a percentage of exports or only on the based on exports. Like MEIS, it is based only on exports, those kind of things. Then subsidies contingent upon the use of domestic or over imported inputs. So if you use domestic inputs, then you get this subsidy, otherwise you don't get this sort of a thing. Of course, that is not there in India. The second one, the first one is where the objection was, and shall neither grant nor maintain subsidies referred to in Article 3.1. So this is the agreement which is there. But what is not deemed as a subsidy? What will not be held as a subsidy? The exemption or remission of indirect taxes in respect of production and distribution of export products, which can be directly traced into the presence in the cost of the export product, that could be exempted upfront or also remitted. That means it can be given back to the industry either in cash or scripts, whatever is the format. That also. So this is allowed. The exemption, remission, or deferral of prior stage cumulative indirect tax on inputs that are consumed in the production of the export product. This is one issue which I will be talking about later when I am making the walking you through the format, which I will be touching upon in detail. The remission or drawback including full or partial exemption or deferral of import charges on imported inputs that are consumed in production. So this is where the drawback has, as of now, in its present form, has been acceptable. Overall, the all industry rate of drawback and also the brand rate, which is a direct link to the payment of the duties which are there. So this has been these three are acceptable to the WTO forum. But however, there is a caution. If the remission exceeds the duties and taxes, to the extent of that, it will be held as a subsidy. For example, the duty enjoyed by a product is 100 rupees. The government is giving back 110 rupees. To the extent of 10 rupees, it will be held as a subsidy. So this is another issue which is there. And now the prohibited subsidies contingent upon export performance were to be phased out over a period of 8 years from the date of entry into force, that is 1195. Thus, subsidies were to be phased out till 2003. However, those member countries whose gross national product means your GDP, which is a domestic product, in short, we can say sales within the country, plus your exports together, per capita was under 1,000 per annum. And in 2016, it is crossed. I have given a short thing. In 1962, it was 90 rupees, 90 US dollars. And in 2016, it was 1,680. That is where it crossed the 1,000 mark in 2016. And last year, it was close to 2,138. So now in this case, what happened was, one of the arguments which India put forth in the WTO case was that the subsidies should be extended to 8 years from 2016 onwards, but that was not agreed by the panel, and that could be maybe one of the point of defense in the subsequent stage, that it should be from 16 onwards. So that is the other thing. Now RoDTEP, coming to RoDTEP, India is signatory to the agreement as we saw earlier, and the time the appellate body takes in deciding the appeal is opportunity to establish new WTO compliance schemes to quickly put in place like this RoDTEP. Of course, there is plenty of time, in my personal opinion, to do this, but the government wants to put in for its own reason now. So by 31st of December, this has to be put in. So 1st January, it has to be in place. They even said that it could be wherever RoDTEP is being worked out for a particular industry, for that industry, MEIS will be taken out and this will be put in. This is what they were talking prior to the COVID. But post-COVID, I do not know the actual position because this notification, everything came only a few days back, and we have to wait for further signals from the government. Intends to be prepared before the report of apex body is issued, and hence RoDTEP is being introduced. So whether the apex body is going to give a favorable ruling in favor of our country, or it is going to be against us, still the government wants to put in place, because as we saw earlier, exports form a very, very important trade basket overall, and this for the government of India. And so government does not want the trade, especially export trade, to suffer. So they want to bring in this immediately. So RoDTEP is expected to be a WTO compliance scheme, under which a mechanism would be created for reimbursement of taxes, duties, levies at central, state, and local level. This local level initially was there in the earlier RoDTEP, which was notified sometime in February or March last year, when we really started this, looking at this exercise. But now that local levy thing is missing, but we should tell the government even local levies are there, which are also tax in nature of taxes, which gets added into that, not that which is being levied only by the central and state governments and reaches their treasury, but it is also the local level levies which have to be looked into, and that has to be refunded as well. Because post GST, what happened, some of the local levies which was by the state governments, especially in the nature of indirect tax, was pushed down to the local body levels. So those also we can identify across the various states and see if that can be factored in. So refunded are the other mechanism, but which are and they are not refunded by any other mechanism. For example, the only other mechanism as of now is the drawback. Under drawback, everything related to manufacture only is taken, both goods and services, and even excise on fuel also. So apart from this, all the other levies which are not factored in the drawback have to find a place here. The above taxes would be indirect taxes on inputs that are consumed in the production process. These would be inputs physically incorporated energy, fuels, and oil used in the production process, and catalysts, where something which could be consumed in the process also should be taken as inputs, which are consumed in the course of their use to obtain the export product. The scheme aims to make Indian exports cost competitive and create a level playing field for exporters in the international arena. Now I'll go through the format one by one. Sir, is the format visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible now.
Yeah, okay. So they have given an indicative list of subsidy which is there in the form also, the last sheet, but I thought I'll start with that first. State level VAT on fuel used in transportation, VAT on fuel used in generation of captive power, VAT on fuel in farm sector for products which are sourcing directly from farm sectors. Like for example, cotton is being sourced directly from the farmers and then used into the production of yarn and then various garments and other things. Then mandi tax, more or less it is not there across India. I don't know, 1 or 2 states they said it was there, but I have not come across those states. And electricity duty on electricity charges, electricity duty is being levied. That also has to be reimbursed. Stamp duty on export documents. Export documents, especially LC and all that, have stamp to be paid, stamp duty to be paid, and this has to be reimbursed, because again this is not, all these are not being factored in the drawback. Embedded SGST paid on inputs such as pesticides, fertilizers used in production of agricultural goods. Then embedded SGST, in, I don't know why they have left out CGST, unless and until really this kind of an exercise was done in the drawback time. Maybe CGST could have been looked at. I do not know why CGST is looked at. This serves one question. We should really find out the background for leaving out CGST. No, they are giving it as, I'm sorry, they are coming down and giving it as a separate thing. And embedded SGST in purchases from unregistered dealers. So these all require, see, this kind of SGST from pesticides and all requires a study of your inputs from where you source it, right up to the field level. And for example, coir industry, they source from, they get the husk first, and from the husk it goes into coir ropes, and then from there it goes into mat weaving and all that. So go up to the husk level, see what is the pesticide, fertilizer and all used by the farmers there, and try to get a data, proper data from them, and make a study of it, proper study. One thing what we should really understand is this data should be backed by proper documentation. Study may be done means what are the assumptions and other things, findings which were there, and documents, and it should be a transparent one which should be given to the government. Two things: one, to enable the government to work out the correct percentages, and also tomorrow if need be to defend our products in the WTO or in any other country which may bring in anti-dumping levies and all. So this could be a starting point. This could form the basis of the documentation. So documentation is very critical. Embedded SGST on coal used in production of electricity. SGST used in transport sector, and central levies, we have those things, the same things repeated. Now one thing, this is what they could find out generally across the industry, what is being happening. And the other one, finally they said any other taxes, duties and levies which are not refund, exempted, reimbursed under any of the prevalent mechanisms such as advance authorization, drawback or GST refund, please specify. One thing quickly I can say as far as GST is concerned, here a lot of 17.5 block credits which are there, which otherwise are not available to you. And as we go along, again, I will be touching upon those points. So these are the basic things which are there. And the last one can vary from industry to industry. So the industry has to do an introspection into your industry, sit with you across these people and see what are the taxes, levies, as I said, go right from the raw material stage, as I said, cotton, something like that in your industry. Please go to that stage and try to gather as much inputs as possible, the data, and then try to arrive at these. One thing about the fuel and transportation, this is difficult because transportation is a very what I would say is market driven values which are there overall. So the transport sector itself doesn't work based on the thing. For example, let me put one example. Say a lorry coming from Delhi to Chennai, say getting some loads, unloading it here. While going back, what they'll do, they'll put it for this thing in the with the brokers. And while going back, they'll just recover the fuel cost and take it back. Because without going empty, they'll at least recover the fuel cost. So it is very uncertain really to work on the fact of the freight cost and try to arrive at. And also there's one more issue which is there where your suppliers may bear the transportation cost. So it is embedded there. So it is embedded in the cost of your purchase itself. So in those cases, what can be done? In those cases, what can be done? You identify your major raw materials. Say in that, what you do, you say how many times you are purchasing. Say for example, you are purchasing, your factory is in say Delhi, and you are sourcing it from, yeah. Sorry. Okay. So Delhi, and you are sourcing from Chennai. So you do it weekly once. So say about 2,500 kilometers, you work out how much is this, and fuel, you know, say average anything between 9 to 10 the truck gives. And the duty levy, somebody raised in the chat also, the excise duty and state levies is available on the online Google. Maybe FIEO can also share this. I will share it with the FIEO. The latest rate, in fact, latest rates are quite favorable as far as excise duty and VAT are there, quite heavy, favorable in the sense for this exercise. It is quite high actually. I could even remember some in the social media, some joke was going on saying that we also sell fuel apart from collecting state and central levies. This was one joke which was going on. So that high duties and state levies are there. So if we work out now, yes, we should get a better rate than what it was a few months back. And the electricity duty, again, it is there in your bills which are available. And again, fuel used in generation capacity, captive power like your generator, each generator has a capacity mark, and you will know how much fuel is required. And some of the companies meticulously maintain logbooks for when the generator was on and when off and how much units it had produced and all. So based on that, you can work backwards and see how much fuel was consumed. And in the farm sector, again in the tractor and the gen sets and all, how much is used. As I said in the beginning, this is not just filling up the form based on your data, which will not be there. You have to do some back-end exercise, backward exercise. For example, the same things can be done by your job workers. So, for example, job worker will be paying electricity duty. He'll be paying fuel charges for transportation on all those things. So you can go backwards there also and see how much he is doing it, some major job workers, and try to arrive at a thing. And whatever you do, the backup document, verifiable document should be there in your place, which should be available in your files. So tomorrow, if there is any verification by any of the government authorities, you should be able to substantiate. Of course, all these documents are going to be have to be attested by your CAs, so or cost accountants. So definitely they will be demanding all these backup documents before they certify. So these exercises have to be with proper documentation. Now the first one, they have divided into R1, R2 and R3. So R1 is quite simple. It is a name, manufacturer, complete address, unit wise. So 2 is first unit, 2A is another unit, and you give your IEC and PAN number and HS code. I have put some numbers there, just of what came to my mind. And drawback serial number is this. You have to look at, and one thing is this data has to be given product wise. Suppose you are manufacturing 4 different products falling under different HSN code. You have to give this data 4 times. You may say some things you do it in the same factory and there's a common gen set and all, then try to divide it based on the turnover or the if you really have product wise, or if you have the costing sheets based on product wise, you can use those, or you can do it easily on the export turnover wise also, you can split up. But whatever assumption is there, you can also give a footnote to that. So you have to bifurcate and give this product wise, that is HSN code wise, for easy understanding. So product description, in this case there's only one product. Unit of measurement, normally you should give in proper thing. You cannot give rolls, bundles and all those things. Proper unit of measurement as declared in your export documents. So it should be kgs, meters, square meters, pairs and all those things. Then kind of unit is, it is only a DTA unit. Even though 100% of your production may go for exports, you are not an EOU unless you are registered under the scheme. Otherwise, all units who are not registered under EOU scheme or who are not inside the SEZ, you are all DTA units. Total production, in fact, it could be 11 plus 12 also, or it could be more because the balance could be in the stock also for the period. We are going to, they have asked for the period 110-19 to 31-3-20. So here, one thing which I have to say is, sir, in the case of plastics, you said you already did this exercise. Even in the case of leather also, we did this exercise for the period January to June. And because of COVID intervention, we couldn't submit it and all. But now we have to go back to the members for this, or the committee should accept whatever has been prepared by us earlier. That could be it. Then quantity of product exported during that period, and what is the export value, and value of product cleared and domestic. Because see, whatever production your units which are consumed and all those things goes into your domestic market also. So the you have to while calculating the percentage, you have to take FOB plus value of domestic sale as well. Otherwise you may end up giving a wrong figure. So per unit FOB value and per unit domestic price. I've just put numbers there. There is no sanctity in that, just for making you understand those numbers. Then again, the next format is furnishing data calculating incidences. As I said, transportation cost. Transportation cost, you should have a worksheet take out your raw materials item wise and see how much times the truck has gone, how many things. And one more thing which can also be an input cost is your transportation from within the units. You may have, say, first initial raw material processing unit, then the semi-finished processing unit, and finally the finishing unit. So the goods have to be carried from one unit to the other. So that also you can include here. As I said, you can keep it as a separate sheet and give all those details as an annexure, so that the committee can really look at those things, because those fuel consumption also have to be captured in this, the what is going between the units. It is not only raw material, because the entire process, because both excise duty and VAT on these fuels are not included in the drawback. So it has to be reimbursed in this route only. Component of VAT and central excise duty, I just put a number there, ballpark number, which is 50%. May or may not be, it is correct, but because each state VAT differs. Some states it's on ad valorem basis plus specific basis. Some states is only specific basis, which, as I told you earlier, I'll share it through FIEO too. It can be circulated. Then total transportation cost per unit of the inbound products, export product, that has to be calculated. As I told you, if you divide only by export product, it will be difficult. You can also arrive at the total and include the local domestic thing also, production wise, quantity wise, and then arrive at the figure. So the other things are almost a repeat on your export product. Export product against output from your factory to gateway port. Meaning that one could be from CFS and then to the ultimate port. So you can take the entire thing till it reaches the aircraft or the ship, yeah, harbor. So you can take the entire outbound transport. Again, I am telling you, if you go by the actual value of the freight, it will be difficult for you to arrive. It is better in that case to give the freight cost, but also calculate and arrive at more accurately. You will be able to do it based on the distances, which working sheets you can give. Then transportation cost incurred for export products per outbound transaction. Then this you are given. And now coming to the electricity duty, it is available in your monthly bills. All you have to do is, if you are having monthly billing, take the 6 bills for that for all the factories. Don't leave off factories, because wherever this product is produced, you cannot leave out the factories. As in the first example I told you, the raw material processing, and then your semi-finished goods and the final finished goods, all the duties together you have to add and put it and give the data here overall. It could be whatever the duty which are paid. It is available in the sheet itself overall. Electricity duty, or I don't know, some states called by a different name. Some states also have an electricity duty, sort of a penalty sort of a thing also. So those things, penalties, things cannot be included here. It is a normal electricity consumption and the electricity duty which are to be given here. Any questions till now? So before I go to the next slide.
I think it's better we take the questions towards the end.
Okay,
Mr.
fine. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, continuing with this format, then the stamp duty. Now the stamp duty, they clearly say it should not be for registration of land and lease of immobile property, or your factory building or warehouse and all that. It cannot be, but it is on export documents. As I told you earlier, it could be on LC document or any other document which you are using. Now more or less stamp duty has been standardized across India, so it should be easily available to you. And again, per unit of export product we have to give that. That is a standard one for every item, serial number 87, starting from there you give the total exports and divide it overall. Then state VAT on fuel used in generation of captive power. Captive power is because excise is factored in all industry rate of drawback, so we have to take really only on the VAT for this general captive power. But one take here, I have my own reservation, because many cases the data submitted to the committee at the time of drawback would not have included this particular thing. Then what happens, we have to see. Maybe we have to take a go back to the committee and take their views also on this. But state VAT on fuel, yes, it can be, as I told you, how to calculate in the DG set, go by the power, horsepower, and how much diesel it consumes. These are all standards which are available. In fact, your repairs and maintenance department will be able to give you these details just like that. They will be able to, because many companies have proper logs which are available. Then embedded CGST, SGST on inputs in transport sector. It could be maybe the repairs and other things which are done, but which you did not take it in the account of the for the purpose of claiming ITC in the GST. Those things, and tires could be one thing. These are some of the things which are there. Some of the things would have been eligible for CGST, SGST, but some of the things may not be there. That can be included here. Then again, lubrication oil, spares, etc., which were not originally taken into the GST. Then the next one, 11, is embedded GST on distribution of export product, like up to the gateway port. Whatever, again, in the transport sector or any other distribution cost which is there, which you pay, and you're not able to take input credit for some reason or the other, for want of proper bills, or it could be unregistered dealer also. In those cases also, you can take the input credit, back calculate, and then take it. So this is R2 as such. The last one is to be furnished export product wise. Again, I told you the entire thing has to be given export product wise. Again, raw material, description of the input 1, 2, 3, 4, give the HSN codes for each of the one. It could be the major materials. For example, which constitute say about 20-30% of your input cost. I'm just giving you numbers. You have to make your own judgment call based on the industry. So on that you have to give this, and the import ratio, how much import local indigenous ratio, taxes and duties per unit of raw material, etc., and VAT on fuel in farm sector. As I told you, like in the case of cotton, you go back to the farm, original basics, and from there you can pick up the work, make a calculation, and then include it here. Then mandi tax for certain products it is there, and in some states it is there. Then SGST paid on inputs and pesticides, fertilizers, etc. Because normally what happens in many cases, farm outputs are exempted from tax as such from the agricultural side. If it is an agriculturist who only sells it directly from his fields, it is exempt from GST. So these kind of GST paid on pesticides, fertilizer, and all will not get captured in your ITC. So you have to include that. Same thing with embedded SGST on unregistered dealers. This is very difficult to really work on these things, because normally what happens post GST, people have started purchasing almost entire raw material and other requirements from registered dealers, because ITC is available and refunds are available. But still, if you still find some unregistered dealers, it can be job workers also. Dealers means this is not respect only goods, it could be job workers also, in which case get the necessary details. He may be paying duties, CGST, SGST on various inputs which he is using, but he is not claiming ITC, so you can ask him to give the details. Similarly, SGST on coals produced. And again, CGST embedded on pesticide, etc. I explained to you earlier as well. Now, HS code of export product at 8-digit, embedded CGST in purchase from, so the same thing is repeating. Then block credit, inverted duty structure, ITC availment not allowed, etc. See what happens, I do not know here, especially in case of exports, pure exports. Once you claim the refund under GST, if any balance is left or even IGST you get, then they are not allowing for the inverted duty structure refund. It's not being allowed. So in this case, whether we can take this clarification is required, what they mean by inverted duty structure, because block credit is something else where ITC is not availed under section 17(5) of CGST Act. But inverted duty structure per se is normally ITC is taken and reimbursement given. So this one issue which need to clarification from the committee, what they really mean by this. Then road tax paid on transportation of goods. Again, this is another area you can find out if you are suppose you are hiring trucks and all that, you can find out easily how much will be the tax paid for those things, and you can calculate on it. And if it is your own vehicle or it is your hired vehicle, both cases, you can calculate and get some backup documents from those people. Then embedded GST and compensation cess on coal use. Then any other tax with justification. This is what we said. This could be with an annexure also. For example, there is a moot point which is there for some of the things, though not as a tax, but are statutory payments, like your factory license fees and your pollution control fees and all that. There is nothing in return which is being given as a service by them. They are purely for registration under different acts. And there are also cases of testing which is being done in many cases where also embedded taxes are there. So this can also be studied and included. And one other area which is, to my knowledge, substantial is where the fuel and other things paid on transport of workers. This is not included here. That is also really quite substantial, because export industry, you have to bring in workers from far away places, and these are all part of staff welfare, and you may not get input credit for the fuel on those things, but it is part of your transport cost. So that also can be worked out, as I said, how many vehicles you are using, what is the average kilometer, maybe your HR is having those details. You can pull out from them and take out the details and do it. Yes, there are a lot of work, background work. It is not just filling up the form. If you fill up a set and do maybe 10 or 15% of the form, you will be able to complete. But you have to do a lot of back work and calculations and other things before you do it. So you have to have the basic documents, the basic data in full. So, and the justification also, they said provide a reference to CION and other norms which have been fixed. These will also help the committee in assessing what is happening. And there could also be embedded taxes. I said you go backwards as for example, petroleum based products. We only see from the either the import stage or I mean the purchase stage till it comes to after. But what happens prior to that? Because entire petroleum is being imported. Whether you can really look at the tax paid on those kind of things, what is the volume, I mean quantity which is there available for making the product, inputs and all that. So that can also be one of the guidelines. So a lot of homework has to be done on this. And the other one, again, I'm reiterating, the documentation is very, very important for the committee to consider. For example, at electric bill, you need not give all the 6 months. To my opinion, you can give just 1 or 2 months. And it need not be across all the factories unless they are located in different states. If in the same state you have say 3 factories, just give for one factory 2 bills, and then they give the breakup of the tax as an annexure for each of the factories. But if it is across states, then the tax could vary, then in which case give additional bills also. So with all these documents, you should be able to submit, and yes, get it attested by your chartered accountant or a cost accountant. It could be because they are not said your statutory auditor, it could be any chartered accountant, cost accountant, who has to go through all the documents and things and then get it certified. So with this, I'm ready to take the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Raghunathan. Just in the meantime, Mr. Oni, just before we move on to the questions, I'd just like to invite also, we have 2 more council chairmen with us today. We have Mr. Kushwan Jain and from the Oil and Seeds Council, and also Mr. Nuruddin from the Cashew Council. So I'd like them both to please say a few words.
Thank you, Israr Bhai. This is one of the best meeting which people would understand about right now. Everybody is facing the problem with MEIS, and everybody knows that new scheme should be introduced shortly, and this will be the help the industries. As I see, a lot of people are mentioning on the chat that they don't aware about that this new scheme is going to be start, and this forms should be fill up from the industries and give it to the DGFT, which is already started almost 1 year back from the DGFT side. But as we know that hardly feedback coming from the industries to ministry, which is they are not able to start this new incentive scheme for the exporters. This will be help to everyone, each and everyone for the industry, which they can be give a data to government, and then they can immediately start the new scheme RoDTEP, which will be benefited to all the industries. Thank you, CA R Raghunathan ji. Yes,
Thank you, sir.
briefly about industries, they can fill up the form and submit to the concern. Thank you very much, Israr Bhai, once again, that you have taken the very good subject for the industries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnan. I think CPCI also, I think I've just opened the meeting room, unmuted them also. So Mr. Nuruddin, and also if Mr. Bodesh is there, you know, both of them. Thank you.
A very good evening to all the participants. First of all, let me thank the FIEO and the team for taking this initiation. This is the need of the hour. We are in the juncture of a transition of the export incentive scheme from MEIS to RoDTEP. So any new scheme coming in creates a lot of confusion, and I'm sure the detailed presentation by Mr. Raghunathan has brought in a lot of clarity in this new scheme. But there's a lot of homework we have to do, and this is a tiring process. Anyway, we at CAPC also on the process of collecting the data now. Once again, thank Mr. Raghunathan for the presentation, and also thank Mr. Ishar Ahmed, the regional chairman, and also Krishnan, the Deputy Director of Southern Region. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Raghunathan, we'll go ahead with the question.
Sure, sir.
Mr. Ravish Kamath want to raise one issue.
Good afternoon, everybody once again. And Mr. Raghunathan,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much for this exhaustive response which you've given to us. I think it has cleared a lot of the queries which people have in mind. And going forward, what I would like to ask you is only two things. Number one, how different is this data which is being asked by the ministry from the one which we have already given earlier? Number two, you also said that there is a possibility that we have to resubmit all the data or request the committee to accept the earlier data which was given. I bring to your notice that from the Plastic Export Council, where we have more than 2,600 members and there are more than 200 items of plastics which are being manufactured and exported, we have collected data from at least 30 major manufacturers and exporters and submitted the same almost about 4 or 5 months back. So now this is going to be an exercise which we have to repeat again. In view of this, I'm asking you these two questions. So if you could answer this, I would be thankful.
Yeah. So first of all, this form is more exhaustive than the earlier form. Earlier
Yes,
form did not have, that is one thing which is here. They have given a lot of breakups in this format, which is there across various sections. And regarding the data, as I said, we have done it for the other industry also. Now we do not know. We have to request the, the committee to accept it because already we have done it exhaustively and almost ready to submit it when this COVID intervened. So this is one area we have to look at, and I don't know whether the committee will accept it. But if they don't accept, we have to, there's no other choice for us but to go back to the members and then collect the data.
Thank you, Mr. Raghunathan. I think my next question is to Mr. Israr Bhai. Israr Bhai, I'm sure from FIEO also, from the various councils, some exercise has gone in and a lot of data was collected and given over a period of 3 or 4 months of time. This has brought in a lot of efforts and cost. So the point I'm trying to make here is that at least from the Plex Council side, we will request the government to accept the earlier data because it was exhaustive enough and had all the details. So do you think from FIEO also we should do the same?
For sure, sir. I think we are going to ask for the old data to be accepted, because also if you remember from March, I think we already had some times where there's a problem with the exports in the last, because lockdown came in as well, so we can't really use March as well. So I would definitely push to get the old data accepted. We will ask from our president to also represent, and if all the councils can also do it, it may be better for sure.
We will do it for sure from Plex also. Thank you, Israr.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Bodish, I can see that you are also here. If you would like to add anything, we would be happy to hear from you. So you're muted, Dr. Bodish. Just trying to unmute you. Yeah, please.
All right. Yeah, very good evening to all the participants. Mr. Israr Mohammed, the regional chairman, Mr. Unnikrishnan, and I also thank Mr. Raghunathan for the wonderful presentation. As I was listening to the presentation, I could see that there's a lot of homework to be done, and it is not just an easy walkover like MEIS where we can just fix on some percentage or a lot of exercise has to be done. So we are also having a big concern in the sense that in the cashew industry, mostly we are just importing material and how to just adjust the duties and taxes into the RoDTEP. Maybe that on the ongoing discussion, I hope that we'll be getting some clear ideas. And one more thing is that I remember that during some of the discussions, there was even the FIEO also, I think there was a request that, rather than just doing it on individual items, why that RoDTEP cannot be just discussed or could be decided on the sector base. For example, dry fruits or maybe some agriculture items like that. So I'll request Mr. Israr Ahmad just to have his views on this. Once more, I thank all the team leaders here and all the participants for this effective participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bodish. I think here, this is going to be similar to the drawback point where, they're going to go up to 8 digits, I saw, of the HS code. So they're going to be very specific so that not to have any of those problems with the WTO as well. So they would like to have data to go back and say that these are all refunds that they're supposed to get. So they want to avoid a situation similar to what MEIS was before, which was more like 2%, 3% without much data in it. So I think that is why the government is very, very specific about getting HS code to be specified in each and everything so that they can go back and fight it if they have to. So that is it.
So I just want to add on one more point. Actually, one of the big concerns that Cashew Council was raising all these days is that, because a lot of material which used to be imported and re-exported from India without going any real transformation used to get MEIS. And I think that with this RoDTEP, when the duties are exclusively calculated, I think the real processes in India will get a good boost in that aspect. I'd like to have a clear idea on that also, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Can we move on to the question and answer session, Mr. Raghunathan?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Uni.
Before that, can you see some questions in the chat box if you can? Yeah, I'm not able to open the chat box. Okay. Then we'll. One second, sir. I'll see if it is. No, yeah, I'm able to. 1 second. Some important one we can. Yeah. Meanwhile, I think we can ask. Somebody can keep asking. Hello, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Ms. Padmavati. Or Mr. Ashutosh. I think Padmavati has unmuted. Ms. Padmavati, are you there? Or Mr. Ashutosh?
Yes, I would like to ask, is there any benefit for a merchant exporter? Because merchant exporter point of view, forms R1, R2, and all these things will be very tedious. No one would like to go into so much details. So, are we expecting any standard all industry rates?
Yeah, that is, see this, just like MEIS, my understanding is this is applicable for even merchant exporters also. In case of merchant exporters, many of the data you will not be able to give, like a procurement of raw material and other things, in which case I think you can avoid giving the data as such, because it is better the manufacturing units give the data rather than merchant exporters. But the RoDTEP policy as such, whether it is extended to merchant exporters also, I have not seen that yet. Maybe they will be coming up with that as and we go along. But definitely, because merchant exports also make a significant contribution in the overall export basket, I think they will also be able to be given, because one thing, logic is that you procure domestically these things and those products have undergone all these kind of duties. They have suffered all these duties. So ideally, logically, you should also be reimbursed.
Mr. Raghunathan, I have another question which I'd
Yes,
like to. For example, if my industry is using chemicals,
okay.
let's say certain HS code chemicals, could we take the, let's say once the RoDTEP numbers are published,
Okay.
could we take that as a, because it is used for processing, could
Yeah.
we take that figure also and add it into our this thing?
What we can do, sir, is if you are procuring locally these materials,
Yes.
and if, for example, a chemical X you are using, and if somebody in India has submitted the data for chemical X, definitely I think you can use that data. Say, suppose they are given 1.5%, let us say, just I'm telling. So you use for 1.5% for the amount of chemicals used in your product.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Next, we
Yeah.
can move on to Mr. Shubhankar Shaha.
Yeah. Hi, myself, Shubhankar Shah from Krishna Exports. We are from the Eastern Zone, Kolkata. Thanks, Raghunathan sir, for your knowledge about RoDTEP, and thanks to Ahmed sir also for organizing this meeting. We are exporting to Bangladesh, and we have food grains and other products. We are merchant exporter basically. One of our product is mustard seed oil cakes, which is we represent most of the millers in Bengal, and we export that product to Bangladesh, and that has MEIS of 5%. So now the question is, first question is, the MEIS has been stopped. We cannot apply for further MEIS. Our working capital is getting blocked. So when that will be, we can apply, because what we hear is till 31st of December, MEIS will be applicable, and thereafter we'll have RoDTEP. And the second question is, in this RoDTEP detail, I have seen a lot of things to be given. So being a merchant exporter representing the manufacturers and exporting, how we are going to, do this? So these are the two questions.
Yeah, you answer your first question. I think Mr. Unni at the beginning of this session, he mentioned that they have already taken up with the government, and I think he will again communicate to you on that. On the second question, I again explained to somebody else a couple of questions back. As far as merchant exporters, you will not be able to give all these details, because these are all more manufacturer related. You only buy and then export. So you will not be in a position to give these data. So I think only manufacturer exporters need to submit this. Unless you have a dedicated factory where you manufacture and then procure and give it, those in such cases you can give. But otherwise you are just buying it and then exporting it, you will not be able to give it.
But sir, our exports are highly dependent on the MEIS, and merchant exporters contribute the maximum percentage of the exports that is exported from India.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. And one more thing which I would like to bring caution is that don't look at the percentages and stop the data being submitted. Percentages come in the end. First, what we have to do is fill up all the data which are available, maximum amount of details which are to be given, please give that. Just don't divide it by your export figure and say, no, this is not equal to MEIS, or not, because Lot of data has to be collated, and then best ones are selected where a lot of details are available, maybe 5 or 10 companies maybe. But to select that 5 or 10, you need to have 20 or 30 from each product. So you have to, people have to collect that kind of a data, choose the best of the things, 5 or 10, and then submit it to the committee. If you just get 1 or 2, then it will not be a very representative data. Or I would put it other way, if at least 10% of your exports should be covered by the data which you are submitting, minimum 10% or 15, some significant number should be there, comfortable numbers even for the committee to really work with.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody has asked what is the period. It should be October 19 to March 20.
Yeah. I just like to add one more thing, just for the members. Please understand that this data needs to be submitted to your councils or your boards. So that is something, and they will be the one who will be working with the RoDTEP committee as well to get the rates finalized. So it's not that you have to individually submit to the and then the rates are finalized. It's not like that. So generally it will go to your councils, and the councils will go ahead and submit that further on to the committee and get the rates finalized. So that is how this is going to be.
Okay.
And the other question on the chat is, each state different duty structures may be there for electricity duty, etc. How the rate will be fixed? I explained again. See, suppose you are having one factory in Tamil Nadu, one in Maharashtra, one in Bengal. The electricity duty will be different. Take an average of that. For 6 months, calculate for each, add it up, because the overall exports will be from all the 3 factories. So add it up. Or one factory could be a feeding factory for the other one. So take that also into account, and then add it up and you get it. It's all about, sometimes about averages only. It is not the actual reimbursement, bill to bill reimbursement, but an average percentage which is being worked out and submitted.
Fine, sir. Thank you. Now, shall we move on to next question, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Then we have Mr. Manish Sabarwal. It's over to you, Mr. Manish. Mr. Manish Sabarwal.
Yes, I'm here. Just wanted to know whether we can have some kind of standard rates, like the cost of SGST and CGST or local VAT on fuel, like diesel.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So your question?
Can we have some standard rates, like what is the cost of duties and taxes on fuel, for example, for diesel, for example?
Yeah. You want the duties on diesel?
Yeah.
See, one thing is you can Google it and you will get it. The latest duties which are available, both excise duty and state-wise VAT. It is available in the Google. And as I told you in the beginning, I can also send it to Mr. Uni, who can share it with you also.
Secondly, will this exercise be, the rates be renewed next year if we don't have sufficient data this year and we have a lower rate fixed this year?
So I do not know whether like an all industry rate of situation is going to be there, where a year on year exercise has to be done, or it is from policy to policy. We have to wait and see how the, as I said, the RoDTEP policy as such has not yet come. What is it going to do and all that, how it is, who is applicable, and all those things are not yet come. Maybe as they work, start the entire process, maybe towards closer to the date of introduction, maybe it will be announced. Then we have to see how they are going.
Sorry, third question. Do we also bring in the amount of local VAT on, for example, alcohol, which is levied on hand sanitizers when we buy the alcohol for hand sanitizers?
See, if you think that is a very significant portion of your cost, but anyway, this is alcohol and sanitizers are going to be there only for a limited period. It's not going to be there. But no harm in giving those data in the others column. Just give those things and say that right now it is there. and this entire time period is uncertain, and you have to give proper justification to that, and how you arrived at that thing also.
We have the receipts for that. We pay that
Yes,
ourselves.
yes. But will it be really significant? That you
Yeah,
have to
it
work
would
on.
be for that product. It is a significant amount.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, we can move on to Mr. Ajay Vekaria.
My query has been solved, ma'am.
Okay, fine, sir. Thank you. Next, we can move on to Mr. Ashish Baunha Bhupanna. Yes, sir.
Thank you, madam, for giving me the
It's over to
opportunity
you.
to ask the question.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the very lucid presentation given by Mr. Raghunathan.
Thank you.
Mr. Raghunathan, the basic questions that I like to ask you is,
Yeah.
like, as far as my product is concerned, I am a chemical manufacturer situated in the eastern part of India, Kolkata to be precise.
Okay.
Now I get some of my raw materials from Bhiwandi, that's in Maharashtra.
Okay.
And as of now, what I can identify is that the only taxes which remain unreimbursed on my final product is the transportation cost, the fuel charges,
Yes.
which is carrying the taxes embedded in it, or as for my final product. But now, like I asked the transporters, like how much are you paying the government for these taxes?
Yeah.
They just didn't come up with an answer. They don't have a precise answer for how many liters of fuel they have consumed for moving my raw materials from Mumbai to Kolkata. Now, when I'm going back on the internet just to check the average mileage for the trucks, that's giving me a very average mileage, say 4 kilometers a liter.
Okay. See, a normal truck carries about 9 tons. Truck.
16 tons,
Yeah,
9
it could be if in a
tons.
hilly region, because I was talking to while doing the exercise, I was also in touch with some of the transporters, though they refused to give me anything in writing. But from the discussion I had, what I could understand is that in hilly regions, truck of 9 tons gives about 7 to 8 kilometers. And in the normal plains, it gives about 10. And in very steep areas, even 6 kilometers.
So who's going to fix this thing? This is
No. You see,
left to
that's what.
still.
No, let me explain. For example, Bhiwandi to your place, how many kilometers?
Say 2,000 kilometers.
2,000. So you take 10 kilometers per liter. Okay. Divided, it is 200 liters one way. And weekly you buy only once, let us say. So 52 weeks, 52 times you are going to do is multiply it by 200. So many liters you have consumed. And per liter excise and VAT is available to you. You calculate based on that. And
Okay,
for this particular thing, give the backup sheets, annexures you please give that.
So, but do I need to get something collected from the transporter?
No need. This is there. Your purchase bill says from where you are buying. Definitely, it came by road transport. So you have that. Maybe some LR copies you may be having.
Yeah, the
or
LR
having
copies.
proof of that you are purchasing from there. Yeah, that should be sufficient. If you submit, if you submit it and still the committee needs more information, you please provide them with that.
Now coming to the second part of my thing, like once my goods are produced, I am exporting them substantially to Bangladesh through the land border.
Okay.
Now over here there is a significant waiting period in which we incur a lots of transportation charges by way of demurrages, standing trucks and all. And I don't know how much of fuel they are going to consume over there. The transportation cost is heavy. But I don't know exactly how much fuel they are going to use up over there and for how much quantity I need to make a claim over there. How to claim upon this? The distance is not much. The distance is very less. But now just to tell you that even to keep a truck standing, you need to at least start the engine or keep the engine running for 2 hours a day, or else this big trucks are just going to, the battery is going to die down. So over there running the truck, idle also they require the fuel.
Yeah, okay. So I think these are all judgments which you have to make. and give a statement to that, annex a statement to that how you made this calculation.
So, but is the
This
government going to
estimate.
rely on this? They are going to ask for a certificate. Transporter will give
I'll
a
just
certificate.
ask, please, Mr. Ashish, to be very short because we have a lot of people with a lot of
I'm sorry.
questions.
Just one more question, if that's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to have lengthened this thing. Like,
Yeah.
should I wait for the RoDTEP fixation of my raw material supplies, or should I submit my data and in case if the ROD rates for them is fixed, later on I submit a revised set of data?
No, I didn't get your question. Can you please repeat?
In case if my raw material suppliers, if they
Okay.
also get their own ROD rates, then should I wait for them to get their rates fixed and then submit my data, or
No. You should submit it straight away. You need not wait for them.
Okay, I should get a option of revision.
Yeah. You have to do. Otherwise, you'll miss the
question.
You'll miss
Thank
the
you.
Next.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next,
Okay, there's one more question here from Mr. Aditya Gupta. Please share some clarity on commodities which are GST exempt. Will they still be under RoDTEP purview? See, RoDTEP is reimbursement of those taxes and other things, embedded taxes and other things. Definitely you are entitled. Even under GST, commodities which are exempt are eligible for refunds of the eligible ITCs. So those things which you are not getting as a refund in GST, you can claim it here. You please give it in the appropriate columns, maybe in the others column or somewhere, and then give proper clarifications and other things as an annexure. Yeah, can you go to the next question, please?
yes, sir. We have Mr. MSR Rao. Mr. Rao,
Yes,
Mr. Raghunathan.
Yes, sir.
I'm reframing the question asked by some of my colleagues who are the merchant exporters.
Yes, sir.
Now, the formats R1 to R3 are suitably designed to be filled up by the merchant manufacturing exporter. Now, at least can I claim drawback for the GST I pay to the merchant export, my manufacturer, transportation, and CAF GSTs under the same scheme, if not the other details? That is my question.
Sir, the form submission is only for the fixation purpose. If somebody is not submitting the form, still if the rates are notified, you are eligible to claim those rates overall. That one thing we have to understand. And as I explained earlier, if you have a supporting manufacturer, a dedicated supporting manufacturer from whom you are going to buy this, then certainly you can get these data from him and then submit it.
Okay. That means the data collected from him and I submit and I get the benefit, is it? Or he gets the benefit?
No. Person who is exporting it will get the benefit. Not the person.
I am the merchant exporter. I am exporting it.
You will get it. You will get it.
Supporting data I have to collect from my manufacturer.
Yes.
Is that right?
If it is available, a dedicated supporting manufacturer is available, and he is willing to part with all these details, then you can submit.
Okay. No, I can definitely pass on a part of the benefit to him.
That
so
is
that the prices will come down. Sorry?
That is arrangement between you, sir. Overall. That is the arrangement between you and your supplier. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Next, we can move on to Mr. Deepak Gupta.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Raghunathan. Thank you. See, I'm Deepak from Chemexil, which is an export promotion council.
Okay.
And last year also, like many of our colleagues mentioned that they had submitted the data on the basis of the formats given by DOC.
Okay.
So we had submitted data for about 110 products received mainly from large scale manufacturers.
Okay.
Because the data is such that small companies find it very difficult to submit.
Yes.
Now on 14th August, we were called by RoDTEP committee. There was a webinar and they consulted again.
Okay.
Now I just want to understand that if somebody has to redo the exercise considering the COVID related restrictions,
yes.
Is it really worth, or is there any major component which will make a difference?
So it is the requirement of the committee. If they are going to accept your old data, I don't see anything different except some details are given these things you would have already covered under the old thing. Maybe in your own format you would have covered, or you would have filled up in the DGFT format. If you are satisfied with the earlier one, and you are satisfied with the outcome, then I don't think there should be any issue.
Yeah, because this is what most of the people, they are reluctant to do the entire exercise again. It's a very exhaustive exercise.
Yes,
and another thing is that chartered, because you yourself are a chartered accountant, do you think you will be comfortable attesting the transportation average taken? Because see, being a chartered accountant, will you be comfortable attesting that type of assumption data?
Chartered accountants normally do not attest assumption data.
That's why.
You're right very much. But what they can say is they can give some disclaimer here in this, saying that they have gone by your study, and based on the study, this is the cost and this is the taxes which are paid. Some comfortable disclaimer, if they want, they can give in this.
I guess.
Certainly. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Otherwise, because this is the main sticking point. Most of the people say we can give, but our CA is refusing to sign. So
but without the sign also, it will be difficult for you to submit the data.
Yeah, I understand.
See, the reason for asking is the committee has to be comfortable that somebody has verified this, and somebody takes the responsibility for the figures given here. That is the main reason.
Actually, one pattern we have seen is that people who are located in hinterland ports, their rates are much higher. Whereas in contrast with people who are, who are getting at JNPT and getting goods in, say, Vapi and Taloja, I mean, they are not very keen to submit because the transportation cost is component is not that much.
Yeah.
But a company situated in, say, Noida or any other hinterland area, and they are getting in Mundra, so for them it is much better. This is my experience, as per the last one.
Yeah, but as an industry, you can take a call. What type of things you are going to submit, on which area you are going to concentrate, and justify that also, that the exports are from these areas are good, so predominant in your industry. Based on that, you can submit. It is a industry call you have to take.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Raghunath.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we have Mr. Levies